After 7 years in operation, Boston Catholic Radio has a new studio and offices in West Roxbury. To tell us about the facility as well as the programming and the mission is our guest from Boston Catholic Radio, the chairman of the advisory board, Lou Murray. Thank you very much for being with us,
Thank
Lou.
you for having me, Chris.
First of all, talk about what the station is and where to find it.
Well, yes, we're one of the many nonprofit radio stations in Boston. Of course, everybody knows about NPR, but we're on the AM dial at 1060, just past the news station. And we're a 50,000 watt radio station. We have a very clear signal during the day. Our signal goes all over southern New Hampshire, hits the tip of southern Maine, and it goes down to the South Shore and all of central Massachusetts and greater Boston.
Now, I grew up in Boston with, more fragmentary kinds of religious programming. Somebody who would watch a mass on Sunday, or even back in the old days when Cardinal Cushing would say the rosary. But this is a 24/7 operation. Well, what do you fill it with?
Well, we have quite a variety of programming. You know, there are 1,500 Christian radio stations in the United States. They really got on the bandwagon of buying AM stations and putting on programming, and Catholics kind of came late to the table. Mother Angelica, who formed the biggest religious network in the world down in Irondale, Alabama, challenged people, business owners, to buy some AM stations, and she would provide them with free programming. And that's how our station came about.
Now, this is not just clergy doing the program. You've got a lot of lay Catholics doing this, right?
Yes, I would say the majority of our programming is not led by clergy, and our station is not led by clergy. We are not part of the Archdiocese of Boston, although we do operate with their permission. Our programming is, we have a talk format where people call in with religious-oriented questions. That's one of our most popular programs. It's called Catholic Answers. It's on from 6 to 8 p.m. One day a week, Muslims will call in and say, I don't understand this about Christianity and Catholicism. Another day of the week, they'll have Protestants call in. It's just very unique, and it builds understanding, and it builds education for Catholics to know their faith.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with Lou Murray from Boston Catholic Radio. I'm familiar with a lot of Catholics because I grew up that way in Boston, and there's always some sort of unease with some of the rules, and I guess maybe by listening to some of the programs in your station, people can find maybe some more effective ways to deal with that too.
Yeah, I think also people can find out the reason behind the rules, which is to live a joyful life. And we're Easter people. We try to face any type of adversarial thing that's happening in our life with the joy of Christ and the knowledge of his resurrection at Easter. So.
Like, I imagine what a lot of people might turn to faith for is a family crisis. Do you help people with things like that?
We do. We're very active with the chaplains in all the Boston hospitals. We're active in the prisons. And because it's something that people can reach for, even on their cell phones, and listen to our station in a time of crisis. Besides our station, we have the most popular Catholic app on the internet. It's called iCatholic app, and iCatholic radio app, and iCatholic music app. And people can, when the sun goes down and our signal gets a little bit weaker, a lot of people tune in using their cell phones, their smartphones.
What about the listener engagement? How would you describe that?
Listener engagement is really, really good. I mean, we take programming from 2 different networks. All of our programming right now comes in via satellite feed or computer feed, and all day long in the various different programmings, you'll hear, okay, next caller is from Boston, listening on 1060 AM. And that host may be broadcasting out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, or San Diego, California, and so we feel we have a very strong listenership. Of course, being a nonprofit, we can't afford to go out and pay for Arbitron ratings.
Well, with your new facility, you had the blessing recently. Talk about what that was like.
That was probably the most important thing that'll ever go on in that studio. People who grew up Catholic and know the faith know that there's blessings for every single, for a TV studio. There's a blessing if you're going to fire up a blast furnace for the first time. And we asked a retired priest, Father Nolan, if he would come over, and he said, I know that there's a special blessing for a radio station. And he found it, and he blessed the station, and blessed all of our volunteers. We try to recruit a volunteer in every parish, and they put out some of our literature and some of our marketing material. I think many of your viewers have probably seen this bumper sticker on cars in Boston.
Now we know what it means.
Yes, now you know what it means. It's a promotional device, and we. So if anyone's out there watching and they want to volunteer for their parish, please call our office.
You should mention about Father Nolan. He has a history that actually sort of came full circle at this blessing event.
Yes, it was very special. One of our volunteers is a new American. She's from Nigeria, and Father Nolan had spent the early part of his career as a missionary priest in Africa, and he was displaced during the Biafran War and ended up in a remote section of Nigeria. And he was, after he gave the blessing, he had a chance to speak with our volunteer, and wasn't she from the same parish that he had been in? And he had been made an honorary chief, and she was delighted and he was delighted. So it was one of those little coincidences that God plays on us.
We should finally remind our viewers where you are in the dial.
Yes, we're at 1060 AM. People can also find us on their smartphones on iCatholic Radio. You can also listen to us over your computer by going to our website, which is stationofthecross.com. And any of your viewers who are looking for a Spanish feed, we also have a Spanish feed, so they can listen to the programming in Spanish. But that's only if you sign in through our website.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for your time.
Lou Murray from Boston Catholic Radio.